All right, guys, I'm talking about Orto Parisi's latest fragrance, RISVELIUM, which is this right here. I'm going to tell you all about this unusual, but once you get to start wearing it, not so unusual fragrance. So find out all about RISVELIUM from the house of Orto Parisi coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Sebastian, talking to you about the latest fragrance from Orto Parisi. So this is a fragrance house that is, I guess, a sister house to NASOMATTO. And this is a perfumer that creates fragrances for both houses, Alessandro Gualtieri. So he's got both of the houses. And I've kind of shied away from Orto Parisi a bit, but I'm starting to slowly get into the fragrances of this house. But I've been a fan of NASOMATTO for a while. And I was curious about this one. I actually got to sample it when it first launched at a perfume event I had gone to in Paris. Not Paris Perfume Week, it was at a perfume shop while I was there. And they had just gotten a bottle of this in. I sampled it and I instantly thought it was quite greasy and also a bit gasoline-like. That was my very first impression. And so I sprayed the strip in one room, took it to another room, and there was a crowd of friends who thought it was quite fruity. And I was just kind of getting into the way the fragrance develops, and the fruitiness was just developing by the time we got into the other room. That's what my three friends said. It's really fruity. And so the more you wear it, it becomes a bit conventional and not so unusual. But for me, the first spray was quite off-putting, and I was challenged by it by thinking it was a bit petroleum, gasoline, but on the greasy side of smell. Before I talk about the fragrance, I do want to let you guys know, I don't know if we're going to have any mystery boxes left by the time this video airs, if we have sold out, but if we do, check the info box, click the link to go over there if you haven't bought your kit yet. This one has been quite popular. We dropped more than the normal amount. I think it was close to what we dropped during the Black Friday time when we did in November, the mystery box. And again, I won't know if it's sold out, and if it's in the link and you can click on it and it takes you there and there are boxes of mystery box there. Take advantage of it because it's got a great collection of fragrances. There's unisex offerings and a lot of new fragrances that are on the market, and some new brands as well that you might have not heard about. So take advantage of the mystery box before we run out, if we haven't run out already. So this is a 2025 launch. It comes in Parfum concentration. Again, the perfumer is Alessandro Gualtieri. It's currently selling at 50 ml for $195. So Orto Parisi, just like NASOMATTO, doesn't publish their notes breakdowns. So you kind of have to figure out what you're smelling. But again, as I was saying, the first impressions, I thought it was quite greasy and oily, gasoline-like. And at that time, I thought it kind of reminds me of this fragrance from JUSBOX. This is Green Bubble. And if you guys don't know Green Bubble, it's a cannabis-focused fragrance. And for me, it's quite greasy. This is another fragrance that Julian Rasconnais has created for JUSBOX, but it's not the very easy fragrance to wear, and I've worn that quite a bit. As you can see, it's quite challenging for a fragrance. With RISVELIUM, though, I get feints of the smell of that fragrance now, the greasiness. It's become very citrusy for me. But as I was saying, that first smell was a bit challenging and off-putting. So since they don't really publish the notes breakdown for these fragrances, what do I get from it? So it gets to become very zingy, citrusy. But there is a pulpy effect happening here when you wear it, and it becomes fruity. And remember, the crowd, the friends told me that it was quite fruity, and I was just getting past the greasy oiliness and the gasoline-like qualities, and at that time, the fruitiness was developing. So it does become quite fruity, and since they don't publicize the notes breakdowns, I think there's rhubarb in here, because rhubarb acts very pulpy for me, as if you've ever cut through rhubarb and you notice that there's this kind of a succulent, almost aloe vera-like consistency. So it wears like that, and also with the pulpiness of the fruitiness. So I don't know what kind of fruit it is. It's a bit on the bitter side. I'm talking about the citrus fruit. So could it be grapefruit and rhubarb combined together with additional fruits? it's left to our imagination what it is, but that's exactly kind of what I'm getting from it. But there is a greenness here as well. And this is why I think there's cannabis in this fragrance, or something that acts like cannabis. And this is why Green Bubble is what I thought of when I first smelled RISVELIUM. Green Bubble is a cannabis fragrance, but as I was saying, it's greasy, oily, gasoline, petrol-like. Bit challenging to wear, but this one, since it becomes so citrusy and fruity, it becomes quite easy to wear after you're so familiar with it. Your nose gets adjusted to it. But just keep in mind that first smell is a bit off-putting, sort of kind of like a lot of Orto Parisi fragrances and also NASOMATTO fragrances. But what's really, really prominent here for me, I get such an overdose of amber woods. It's like an Ambroxan bomb, like to the max. If you are not into this note, this one might not be easy for you to wear, because Ambroxan is just spilling over all the edges. It's like covered. Like, the way he's created this fragrance is to create an uncomfortable wearing experience. So I think that's what his intention is. And that's typically what his intention is with a lot of fragrances. And also, not to segue too much, I actually hung out with Alessandro Gualtieri when he came to do an event at ZGO Perfumery, and we went out drinking after the event, and I actually got him and his manager to ride a Waymo, a driverless car. And so it was a very interesting experience to do that experience with Alessandro Gualtieri, because he's not like your typical normal person. He's really out there kind of a person, but maybe he kind of dwells on being something like that. He's not like he's just a bit out there. His mannerisms and everything like that just comes off like he's over the top. Plus, he wears over the top clothing. And so it was a very interesting evening. And we went to a bar in this beautiful old historic space, and we had cocktails, and of course that ride in the Waymo was pretty interesting, plus the event at ZGO. So I think he intentionally does like to create fragrances like this. And again, this one started off challenging, but the more I wear it, it just becomes like this green, fruity, citrusy, cannabis-like fragrance experience with an overdose of the amber woods or Ambroxan that's in the base. And as I was saying earlier, I'm not extremely experienced with the fragrances of Orto Parisi. I've got a few here that I'm going to talk to you about. I've got 4 addition to this. One of his most popular, which is very challenging for me, MEGAMARE. And then I think Bergamask might be also one of his most popular, which I don't have here. But he does tend to do a lot of these kind of uncomfortable, strange, daring, but non-conventional style of fragrances. But I feel like once you get used to them, it's going to be fairly easy to wear. So the cannabis in here also comes off green, but I wouldn't call this a green fragrance. It's more citrusy, juicy, and musky, woody, ambery. But that green cannabis note does act a bit minty. Like, there is a minty edge about it, which I think I don't think you can actually extract cannabis. So I think they kind of trick us with utilizing different ingredients to create a cannabis effect. So perhaps there is something minty in here. But I'm going to spritz this on and give you some more thoughts on what I get from this. But up top, when you first spray it, and once that gasoline was gone, it just becomes very pulpy, juicy, like bitter also. Like, imagine, I think it's grapefruit that they're using in here. So it does have that grapefruit oily peel. And I think this was like overdosed in the fragrance. So at first, it came off like grease, like car grease, because of all the notes that are in here. So that oil, if you've ever cut into a ton of citrus and you're not using gloves, your hands become oily because you're handling the skin. So I feel like they put in that oily greasiness into the fragrance, and that's the first experience. But it's quite pulpy and juicy and bitter, zingy because of the fruitiness that's in here. And I think it's rhubarb, but maybe this is what's giving me that pulpiness. And even though rhubarb is a vegetable, to me it smells a bit fruity and berry-like. and things like that. So this is what I get with RISVELIUM. It is a Parfum concentration. It's super long lasting, almost to the point of you becoming anosmic to this fragrance because it's so strong. And the fact that the base or the bottom is so chock full of amber woods or Ambroxan, it does kind of give you nose blinding qualities. So use caution with this and don't spray a ton. And also, I personally don't think, and again, I'm not 100% sure this is cannabis, but that's what I'm getting. I'm getting cannabis vibes. And I personally don't think cannabis is like your everyday fragrance. People are not out there seeking the next best cannabis fragrance. I think they're a bit on the challenging side for people to wear because it doesn't smell like the pot that you're smoking when you wear cannabis fragrances. It's the green stuff before it's lit up. So it's just kind of minty, a bit camphor-like, aromatic, spicy, all those things. And this is kind of what I'm getting here. But along with the peel of the grapefruit, the oiliness, the greasiness, and then the fruity pulpiness all rolled into one. And then, of course, we cannot forget the Ambroxan. This is so full of Ambroxan. It's to the max. And if, like I said, if you don't like Ambroxan, stay away from this fragrance. And I think Ambroxan is pretty utilized a lot in a lot of the fragrances of this house. Again, I don't have too much experience with the fragrances of this house. Let me know if you are a fan of this house, and what are your thoughts on RISVELIUM. Just want to point out the eye as well. It's a really beautiful design, and a lot of the caps do have, some are just basic. I'll show you, but some do have a really nice design. Can you guess these bottles that I'm putting up without even me telling you about them? I'm going to tell you about them here in a minute. But first off, BOCCANERA, this was the very first fragrance I bought from this house. And it's an unusual chocolatey fragrance. But once again, it does have a lot of amber woods in it. And even though you get the chocolate in there, you also get a bit of a black AFGANO kind of effect, because it is, after all, created by the same perfumer. It's Alessandro Gualtieri. So this does happen here. I wouldn't call this a gourmand. I mean, you're getting the chocolate effect, but this is not your gourmand fragrance with chocolate. It's very woody, spicy, and dry chocolate rather than creamy smooth. And the next one is CUOIUM. I have a full review of this one. CUOIUM is animalic, and I smelled it just before this video. It has gotten a bit more animalic for my nose all of a sudden. Has that ever happened to you guys? Fragrances sometimes get more animalic after you're used to it, or sometimes they lose their qualities that you liked about them. This one's gotten a bit more challenging. I think it's just because this came out like in 2020, I believe, and I think it's just been sitting and maturing. So I'm smelling quite a bit of animalic leather here, quite a bit. And that also happened to me with SERGE LUTENS Musk. But see, the thing with that fragrance is it goes up and down. Sometimes it is very animalic on me. Sometimes I can totally tolerate it and wear it. Then we have SEMINALIS. Are you guys familiar with this one? Are you familiar with what this one's all about? Look it up. It is a bit challenging, but this one actually has gotten a bit easier to wear. I actually quite enjoy it. It's got this very milky consistency, and it's not as bad as it sounds. So I like this one quite a bit. It's not like a love that I'm going to like really wear day in and day out, but it's enjoyable. And then finally, it's about MEGAMARE. And this one, from the first time I smelled it, I thought this is a bit too much. Not only does it have a lot of that amber woody Ambroxan that I find in RISVELIUM, it's here in MEGAMARE as well, but it's overdosed with very fishy, seaweedy, marine touches. So it's a turnoff. But for me, if it's not hot and humid and it's not on my skin, I can tolerate it. But as soon as it hits my skin, that's when the magic happens. The kind of fishy, seaweedy, algae kind of note appears, and it becomes very stomach turning for me. It's actually stronger when it's warmer outside, not as strong when it's cooler outside. So those are the fragrances that I have here from the house of Orto Parisi. Let me know your thoughts on RISVELIUM. Does it sound like a great fragrance for you? Would you end up wearing it? And what are your thoughts on this whole line? Are you a fan of Orto Parisi in comparison to NASOMATTO? Do you like Orto Parisi more than NASOMATTO or the other way around? Let me know your thoughts. And again, if you're going to put your nose on this one, let me know. Or if it just sounds different and not appealing, you're going to skip this one out. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.